Hi, and welcome to Tabletop Talk and Draw. This is part two of the fighter archetype slash class, and I wanted to do that so I could talk about some of the color choices I made. This is a time-lapse video just to speed up the process a bit. I do a quick voiceover to recap my thoughts as I go along. But I also wanted to announce a contest, so skip to the end or watch all the way until the end. I'd prefer the second, because it hopefully will be a fun contest for us all. Thank you very much. So here we got, I'm putting down my character here, and now I'm starting to work in the lights on the light side. And I'm not too concerned about being super fiddly with the small bits. I just want to get a general idea of where I'm going with the lights that I'm putting down, and sort of opposite the shadow side and stuff like that. So I'm being kind of scribbly. I tend to be very scribbly. In fact, I realized going into this one, I'm a lot sloppier doing this sort of in front of an audience than I am when I'm doing my own work, because there's a lot of cleanup that I have to do, and I think in a little bit you'll see me pull out the eraser and start trying to trim up some of those outside lines, which have sort of like almost like modeling flash on them. So yeah, I'm working here in some more shadow areas and stuff like that, and this is just sort of the prep for the color. I'm not, it's just I like to kind of bounce around. I don't like to work in one spot too long. I like that way you keep sort of a overall uniformity to the piece. I think that becomes much more important in the color part. So here I am, so I work on a multiply layer a lot, and so when you work on multiply, you kind of have to test it out a few times and see if that's a color that you like, and you can kind of play around with it and stuff. And there's a bit of the flesh already, put in there, pretty bit there. But because the ground I'm working on, when I put that tan on it, all the shadow areas became a bit cool and muddy. I'm going back in with a little bit of a warmer color, a more saturated, red, orange, and just hitting little bits and pieces here and there, and you'll see as it comes together. So I mean, I haven't really talked about the gaming side of doing game art for characters and stuff like that much, because this is I'm not getting into the color choices yet. I hope to in a little bit here. Here we go. Here's my first kind of major color choice besides the flesh tone, which is, I know this is going to be a redhead. We kind of talked about that in the first video. So yep, there went the eyebrows, and the eyebrows are going to be a little bit darker, because I think that tends to be a little bit more dramatic, and eventually I'm still working on the flesh here. So here comes some cleanup. Yeah, get rid of that stuff. Do. My favorite words. Do. Yeah. Okay, zoom in, see how everything looks. Zooming in and zooming out every once in a while, it's a really good idea to do, just to check it. I know a lot of very good artists flip their piece to see if it looks okay. I should do that more often. I'm not. I didn't do it this time. I didn't think of it. If I had thought of it, I would have done it just to demonstrate it. So yeah, working on the mouth a little bit there. And yeah, let's get to some color here. So this is a speed lapse video. I also must apologize. Okay, here I'm starting to put down the orange here. So I go in with a really dark red on the shadow side, and I just kind of keep working it in and working it in, and there you got kind of your bright orange. And he's a ginger. He's a ginger who's freaked out that he has to be charging into melee. So one thing, you see those marching ants, that's the selection border that comes up. I like to hide the selection border because I just find it a little bit easier to work. So a lot of times you'll see the selection sort of pop up for a second and then it disappears. The selection is still there, and I can only paint within the selection. And there's a couple of different ways of doing it. You can use the magic wand tool on the outside and then invert it. invert the selection, or you can go to the layer if you're very disciplined and say make selection on the layer, and then I'll do a multiply on another layer. And I apologize, in my first section I did not have my screen completely captured, so you were missing what I was doing in the layers. So now I sort of I stitched two videos together, and this is the second part. Apologize about that. So the colors that I'm going for, kind of earth tone colors, greens and browns, and sort of, I guess that would be a purple brown there. Always just thinking about reinforcing the light and the shadow, so I kind of keep bouncing back and forth. But all of that underpainting is existing underneath there, and I can keep referring back to it. Okay, the belt's going to be the same color. The boots are really dark brown, going in for that little belt buckle there. I'm putting a little bit of, that's probably going to be, besides his hair, that blue trim is going to be my most chromatic piece, meaning it's the brightest. Chroma is how bright a color is, right? A high chroma is very bright. How intense a color is, I shouldn't say that. Value is how bright a color is. So, but getting back to our warrior discussion, our fighter discussion, yeah, it's sort of earth tone colors. I want to keep it, in sort of, that circa 700 AD, although I don't know if those maces were around then. Certainly scale mail was, 1100 or thereabouts. I'm just guessing. I'm not a professional historian or anything like that, but I've certainly done a lot of reading on armor and armament over the years, and a lot of reference research. And it's fantasy, so you can mix and match. I mean, that's kind of the fun thing, and you can have Mongol armor on somebody. And here's where I goofed up. For some reason, I imported and I copied and pasted something that was already selected. I got rid of that very quickly. Yeah, going in, working on the hands a little bit. Trying to make them a little brighter and just a little bit easier to read. And yeah, but anyways, I mean the scale color is maybe not historically correct. I mean, I don't know what material that is, but I just kind of liked it. And sometimes I do stuff just because I like it. Again, working in fantasy, I don't have to be a slave to historical accuracy. It's nice to have that as a quiver, in your arrow in your quiver, but you don't have to. You can depart from it. So it's like, scale mail and certainly happened, and triangular armor bits were certainly part of it, especially in the Middle East and the steppe nations and stuff like that. But they were probably iron, and this is some kind of, I don't know, electrum. Who knows what that material is that those scales are made of? But hey, I just like it. I like that it's dull, and I think that was important for this character. Is that a lot of his accoutrement is dull, and so even the green has a lot of gray in it. It's not a high chromatic green. It's a dull green. The purple, the mace, is a dull purple. The brown is brown of the belt and the bracers on the forearms. That's a classic earth tone. So yeah, just kind of keep noodling around. Because I wasn't super clean in the beginning, I have a lot of cleanup to do here, because there's sort of the underpainting is kind of bleeding through, and I tend to have my brushes not set at 100 opacity, meaning that when I put something down, it obscures most of what's below, but not all. And I do that because I like to kind of sneak up on the shapes and the forms and the color and whatnot. And I, tend to be a little tentative. I am not some amazing painter who can just slap down a value and a chunk of paint and have it be perfect every time. I'm just not that guy. I have to kind of fuddle around. Just on the technical side, this video is speeded up 7 times, so it's 7 times as fast. So you're seeing it kind of, I thought this was a fairly good speed that I could still talk over it and give you guys some pointers. Yeah. So getting some highlights on those scales, getting some shadows in on those scales. I'm not worried about hitting every scale. It just has to read when you step back and look at it, like there's a lot of detail and a lot of little different pieces there, but I don't particularly care. One thing you might notice is that my edges are a little blurred here and there. I'll let a blurred edge go if it's not in an area that I deem super important. Like his pant legs, I don't really care if that is a little wobbly. Didn't like where that dagger was. Decided to move it, so I did. And yeah, so zooming in, just doing a couple. Yeah, let's get a little bit of highlight on there. Those little details do make it pop. It gives that mace handle a little bit of texture. Yeah, there we go, and we're just putting some texture on the mace. I'm going to put another flange here on that mace there that kind of just died. I think it was sort of half-assed drawn in there, and I kind of forgot about it, and then I remembered it that I wanted it back there, so that went in. Just touch a little bit here and there. Yeah, I didn't like that dark line around the bracers. I wanted to have that be a bit more painterly. That line was a little too even. Okay, so what I just did there was I hit the whole thing with a little bit of light on the light side and a little bit of dark on the dark side. So there you have it. There you have it, the fighter. And now on to the contest. If you subscribe to my channel and describe your character, I'm going to choose one entry per archetype or class to do for the series. So any character except the fighter, because I just did the fighter, and you will get a nice high-resolution file of your character sent to you that will be suitable for printing or showing on the internet, whatever. Be the envy of your friends and family, or at least your geeky friends and family. I'm looking for character concepts that are outside the box. I want to avoid tropes. I want to avoid cliches, or at least tweak them, twist them. Think of what they carry, what they wear, how they look, what emotions you want them to be conveying. If there's action going on, if you want an action pose, or if you want them leaning up against a wall, whatever. Just a few sentences about your characters in any comment section on any tabletop talk and draw video, and I will keep an eye out for them. I will choose one for each archetype, like I said. And with that, thanks so much for tuning in, and keep on keeping on.